What's up? It's Lorenzo Dom, Loft Unlimited, the Magnetic Boss.
Kid T, Boogie Down Bronx, Rockwell Association.
Anyway, welcome
Second
to
gen.
welcome to the style of Boogie, where the real history and stories will be told. So I'm going to start this off because I've had the pleasure of bumping into a friend of mine that I haven't seen in 35 years.
Amen. Right.
Ralphie Boy. When I started Loft Unlimited in 1979, we were in high school together, ninth grade. I should have been in 10th, but I got left back. Anyway, ninth grade, and we linked up. We cut class. We went to every hooky party. They used to be called sets.
Sets.
And all the sets. And we started dancing together. This is when I got introduced to the Loft-style dance. And we used to go to these places, 104 and Lynch, where we saw these master dancers, Chase Perry dance. And anyway, long story short, him and I linked up. We started emulating dancing. Before you know it, Loft Unlimited was created in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, 79, 1980, 81, 82, 83. We did shows. We got to perform everywhere, do what we did. And he was the vice president, because at the time you had a president, vice pres. Everything was affiliated like a gang, cruise. And he was my vice president up until 83 when you left?
84.
84 when he left. And no, actually a little before that, because you had already straight off. Mm-hmm. You left, but you straight off. Anyway, and we had the pleasure of doing so much together. We both danced at the Apollo Theater together for amateur night. We did Northern Lights together. We did a bunch of good shows, all because of Atlantic City. All because of this great style that started as freestyle, became loft, became freestyle, became house. And that's pretty much it on my side, brother. Yeah, so on your side, your experience, brother, even though I know it, right? But you have to say your experience, how you felt, how you feel. Where was it, and where's it going, and where is it at?
Well, when I first saw it, I think it was here in East New York. Just the same thing like Ringo said, just watching these kids do this thing called op rock. They call it rock, burning. And I was mesmerized by it. But it didn't take me till I moved to Williamsburg. And remember I told you, there was a cat, he had cut up sleeves, MC boots, and this weird long hair, and he was just playing this music on 3 turntables, giant speakers. And it just hit me. That music was like, wow, what is this? I've never seen nothing like this before. And that's the year I met you. And we were like, listen, we're gonna get into this music, we're gonna be serious about it. We're gonna get down, we're gonna learn. And I think Perry was the one who took us under our wing.
Perry and Chase.
Perry
and Chase took us under.
It was on 104 Lynch
When we
Street.
say 104 Lynch, this was it was a little club, probably about 4 sizes bigger than this, 3 sizes bigger. And this guy, Perry, he was the older generation. He worked at the garage, Paradise Garage. And him and this other guy, Chase, a martial artist, this is where, like I said, we were 13-year-old kids. I mean, going into this world of gangsters, because like we said earlier, everything was gangs. We walked into this place, we walk in, and now you see these guys dancing, and the dance, I'll break down to you what Loft-style dance is.
Yeah, because I don't know. I know nothing about Loft, and I'm like your number one fan at the moment, because I have no knowledge how Loft started. I met Store, and he introduced Loft to me, and I kind of loved it, but I was never good at it.
And he wasn't. And he's not lying. He's not fucking lying. He's soft.
Yeah, but it has a combination of everything, a little bit of everything. It has flavor of everything. It has Latin, it has op rock.
No.
A little bit.
No,
a little bit. There's more. It's a slower finesse. It's more finessey. It's more classical. There's an expression to it.
There's
that
definitely
we learned.
An expression to it, but
it's a lot slower.
But I got to give you. I'm going to have to interrupt you, because listen, I got to give you the real elements of it, and this is how it's broken down. And what you're saying is, if you say up rock, that's because you put it in, but that's not
great.
The elements of Loft. Loft.
We'll talk about
No, listen. You can beg to differ. I'm going to give it to you, brother. I teach it, right? Listen to me. The elements of Loft, it has 5 to 6. It's this. It is Africana, number 1, right? Because it's a Latin, Afro-American based thing. It has jazz, right? It has martial arts. It has ballet. It has gymnastics, right? If you think of it.
Yeah,
And
so we did. Yeah, that's
because
what we put into it, right?
because listen, this all started at two places. It started at the Paradise Garage. Which was 90% gay, predominantly gay. And then they had a night where the straight guys and girls went in, and they allowed them to come in there and watch and learn, this culture that they had. The Loft was done by Dave Mancuso. He created a space for people, young people that had nowhere to go. He played his music, and a lot of kids were homeless. Some of the kids were just guys that that weren't going home, didn't have family. He created a space for them, and he created the music for it. So between him and Larry Levan, they created the music for the Loft style of dance that we're speaking about. But
also let them know that even though it was gay night, that was the best music you ever heard.
Well, dude, that's
the best vibe you could get.
But listen,
anywhere.
It wouldn't be what it is today. So now, you got the first generation dancers that are probably in their 60s, older than me, or late 50s. They will tell you there is no such thing as a Loft-style dancer.
Yeah. The first generation.
Why? Because to them, it was a place of comfort. It was a sanctuary for them to go in and let loose with no judgment. This is why the gays were there. Nobody criticizing them, no battling.
None.
Everybody danced the way they danced. And if you saw an interview that I did with Pamela Cruz, PR, La Famosa, I said to her, I said, listen, do we have the right to say that we're Loft-style dancers or lofters? Right now, you're still going to get them old heads to say, no, you don't. Sorry, brother. Leave that shit alone. And I understand where they're coming from. Because when they danced their own, their own freedom, their own
expression.
Their own expression. Yeah. So to them, that's very, very, very private.
Personal, right?
And it's personal.
It's private.
But what I said is, when you had a bunch of young guys like us come in and see these guys do that, we emulated and we copied, we bit, and we changed it. How do you think I learned how to do a dive? How do you learn a slide? How do you think a backbreaker, the bridge? Yeah. We used to call it a bridge. These are all things I saw. So for the old heads, God bless all of you, which I'm not trying to disrespect.
Yeah, without them,
without you guys, we wouldn't do what we did. Right. But there is a Loft-style dance, and it is legit, and we're entitled to use that name. And the difference between all of that I'm talking about and why I became a little more popular is because I was one of the first guys that took it from the club, because I got tired of clubbing. And I didn't always go clubbing, and I used to work on and off, and I took it to the streets. We used to go to Bay 6. We used to go to Washington Square Park. We used to go to the fountain where I met you every Sunday. Yeah. That was every Sunday. That was every Sunday. It was there. Every Saturday.
That was church.
That was church.
That was church.
So these are the places where we took this dance to. And Loft Unlimited was the first crew ever to come out with that style of dance from that era. So that's why people say, oh yeah, store, yeah, Loft Unlimited. But you also have the people that hate us because they say we shouldn't have used the name. Right?
How'd you get the name Loft?
Well, it comes from the Loft.
It comes from the Loft.
Dave Mancuso had a spot. It was a loft.
That anyway, we were getting into places that people, they just couldn't get in, and we were getting in. No. We were getting in. We were performing.
Well, we got recognized. We started performing.
I'm like, what is this? I'm like, wow, we're really getting into the core of what Manhattan was giving at that time. I mean, we were just kids from Brooklyn. We didn't know shit from Charlotte. Excuse my French, but it's true.
To take it up a little bit off course, I did Electric Boogie, right? And one of the first clubs I got into was a Disco Fever. So I was like tired of the parks and the jams, and I wanted to get into the club, and I couldn't get into the club. I was too young, so I would dance at the line. The bouncer would say, "Hey, that's nice." Call the guy, the owner, and which happened to be Sal, and he goes, "I got a kid that can dance. Bring him in." And that was the first time I got into a club, and I got into many clubs in that fashion.
Wow. Exactly.
I just danced outside at the line. Exactly. And then they finally, come on in. And I got a free pass outside.
I never had a membership to the garage. The garage was only by membership.
Members only.
Members only. No. And if someone could take you in, the same thing with the Loft, right? If you didn't know nobody, you weren't getting in. And I never got my idea because I was going to Gotham's West. I was going to Ones. My club where I really learned my craft was Bonds International. That's where I really learned my craft. But I went to probably the Paradise Garage 6 times,
was the DJ,
10
Mike
times
Stone
to the
was the
Loft,
owner,
and that was it. And no, that was Michael Stone, Mike Stone.
Mike Stone.
Mike Stone Productions.
Mike Stone Productions, and Ken Carpenter was the DJ.
Mike Stone Dancers. The first time I saw them guys, dude, I almost cried like a little girl. I was crying. I was like, I don't believe what these guys did. They were performing to the Mexican. That changed my life.
know.
Not only, what we were doing at the set, but that to see them perform like that, dude, it took what I was learning already to
The
another
one
level.
I enjoyed, the most performance I enjoyed was those kids from, what did he make? Larry Levan with the New York City Peach Boys.
With the Peach Boys.
Yeah, they were the best.
Didn't somebody just
for
tell me
me
about the Peach Boys?
at that particular time?
Where were they from? I never heard of them.
They were from all over. They had kids from the Bronx. They had kids from Brooklyn, and they had 2 songs. One was "This Is Something Special."
Oh, they were singers.
But that's not the one that really made
Yeah,
the other
no,
song is
They
the
were
one.
singers.
Yeah.
The other song is the big song. I forgot the name, but the other song.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
don't
they
remember?
had 2, but I don't remember the name.
This is something special.
No, but there was another one.
Oh, wait a
Don't
minute, now I
make me
remember
wait.
the
Don't
song.
make me wait another night.
that's
Tonight
the
I'm gonna love That's the one that really made the Peach Boys.
Yeah, I didn't know who sang the song. but now
Oh,
I know
my
the song.
desire for you
Hey.
is truly a fantasy.
No, don't sing. You can't sing.
A fantasy war.
No, you can't sing.
We gotta
Leave
sing
it to Amaretto.
We gotta sing it for you. We're gonna sing. But yo, your dancing is beautiful, man. It's
Thank
awesome,
you,
bro.
thank you, thank you.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, so you started dancing with
I started dancing with Store at the age of 15.
Yeah.
I was like 14 going on 15. I started, I think, when I was about 9 or 10 with my uncle. We used to do salsa right around here, which is not too far in East New York. And that's how I started getting into music. I used to watch them play Fania All-Star music and stuff like that. Of course, like everybody else, we heard English. We had disco and all that other stuff. And my sister would disco in the streets.
now loft dancing. Lofters battle each other, like
No.
Oh,
and if you see,
clarify, yeah.
if
'cause
you
people
see
think
any
that.
of
No.
the documentaries I've been in, this first thing
No.
I clarify, there was maybe a silent battle within your own head,
Right.
but it was always
not
for,
about
it was
battles.
always for improvement
Yes.
for yourself. There was no such thing as ciphers. It was a circle,
Right.
and when we danced. One thing about it, that's why I always say, in the 70s, New York City was very homophobic. You know that. If you were straight, you made fun of them, you teased them, you beat them down, you did whatever until you went into this place and danced, and it changed your whole life about gay people.
Yes.
Because it's amazing what they did with this music and the dance, and they took it to a level that I am so happy to be a part of. But
Me too. I'm proud of it. A lot of people don't want to recognize that part of it, that there was a lot of gay people that influenced these young inner kids for the city like us, that we were from Brooklyn, and we were grasping onto this. Because to me, it was like it was. I was mesmerized. People, you see it today. People dance like with the capoeira. They were doing it back then. It was already done. But they were doing it with such slow finesse, and it was different.
Did you do the Webo?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we
and
did.
how-
We did it
were
for
you
Yeah,
influenced
I
or-
did a
I didn't do the
while,
Webo.
but I didn't do the
Because it's
Webo.
part of it. Was part
Maybe
of
he
it.
did the Webo, I didn't do the Webo. I didn't like
Part of
it. Because
Sorry.
number one, what happened was when we were dancing with women, we never disrespected women. We never did the hump on the ass.
No.
We never tried to get dirty, like that dirty dancing.
did do the
And when the
Webo.
Webo came out, that's what that was about.
Yeah, we did
the
the
Webo
Webo.
came out for 2 people to be nasty with each other. We respected a woman. There's clips of me dancing with a girl. You'll see it. We'll put them up. There's clips of me dancing with this girl, Kusa. And you see, never. She knew that when I approached her, she knew when to back up. When she approached me, I knew when to get away from her. And, the worst that we ever did, we would slide under their legs. They would open up their legs. We do a slide. Do a back breaker, she would come under your back. But we never did any of that. That did not
Of course
exist.
not.
That
Yeah.
did not
It was
exist.
like a dirty dance, wasn't it?
Oh, well, that's when the Webo started.
That's where
But
Webo
the Loft-style
started.
was
I
not.
always
but-
thought, and correct me if I'm wrong, I always thought Webo dancing came out with that song, Dale Webo, Dale Webo.
Well, no,
Esa Loca, which,
Esa loca, dale
Yeah.
huevo.
Huevo, yeah.
Believe it or not, you're absolutely right. The music created the dale huevo.
But-
And the music created the Loft-style dance.
Right.
So what happened is when Loft started kind of dying down, we were getting older, the new generations coming in, and the hip hoppers were tired of doing the hip hop and the boogie, they went into what we did, and it came out. It was called the huevo dance.
Huevo dance.
Which is different. Which is the shaking of your thing with the girls.
And the big hats. And the big hats.
And believe it or not,
And the pants were like
no, that was ours.
That was already-
that was the
part of our
parachutes.
thing?
They were called parachutes,
Yeah.
and we wore that, and we wore the big
Okay.
hats. But the huevo dance came out more. It became a really, really urban outdoor dance where the loft was underground.
Underground.
Where the loft was underground. All right, so that's the difference between the loft and the huevo. I was never a huevo dancer. I didn't like it.
I like
So,
I
so
the huevo.
the huevo era
Dale huevo,
passes,
dale
right?
huevo, yeah.
What was the next era after
Back
the
to
huevo?
freestyle.
You went back to freestyle and everybody
Back to
started
what
freestyling?
Amaretto did. It went from
freestyle music.
It went from freestyle, including dancing. Listen to
Dancing,
what
yeah,
I'm saying.
it did.
It went from freestyle
Wow.
to loft, which was still freestyle, according to first generation.
Right.
It went back to freestyle, which never died. It kind of plateaued, but and which is the Lisa, the Amaretto, the Noels, the TKA.
TKA.
That era. Then after that, techno house.
Don't forget to give Stevie B his credit.
And then
too.
and Coral and
Coral,
George Lamont.
yeah, George Lamont.
And then after that, it went from techno to house.
House.
And even though Frankie Knuckles started
that's
that house, house
yeah.
music, and then it took a shift. And then in the '90s, the tunnel was really popular with that, and it just changed. It's the evolution of it. We get older, the new generation comes in, they kind of emulate us, but since we're not around anymore, they expand it and they make it either better or they grow on it.
So where is it at now?
House.
It's
That's why I got called back into coming in 8 years ago. Wiggles and Ringo, the store, you got to come back. The house is already, we're looking for something not new, but something that we remember that no one's doing. And that's why they brought me back out. And I've been teaching it and talking about it for the last 7-8 years.
There's a few guys out there that go around teaching house that I
There's a lot of guys.
Yeah.
E. Joe's really good.
Yeah,
Joe's
he's
one of
very-
the
I've
cats.
seen him a couple of times.
Who? You seen E. Joe?
Katsu,
Now,
yeah.
I
Katsu
seen this
is
guy,
a-
Loose Joint. Now, I remember him from back in the day. He did Electric Boogie. And he seems like a really good, talented guy. But when I see him dancing, I don't really see the house. I'm not saying that he's not talented. It looks great. The way he dances and everything is more of a freestyle. He kind of combines the Electric Boogie into
Well, that's
his
what I was going
dance.
to say. The elements of house is total hip hop. Because if you see they tick a lot, they tick, and then they dance. They dance. You look at, there's so many good guys out there. Cricket, Cricket's one of them. You see this little guy, he was a break dancer, and now he's a house dancer. He teaches house.
Nice. That's good.
He has House Nation.
So
He's
he
really,
evolved
really
from
good.
one to the other.
So that's why
That's good.
that evolution, we don't have time to talk about it now, but it expanded. But anyway,
That's awesome, though.
listen,
Yes, sir.
I want to say, brother,
Thank you for having me aboard.
I didn't see you for 35 years.
35 years,
We
and-
reconnected like him and I
Me
did.
too, man. 'Cause you knew
Yeah.
I was, man. You met me, man.
35
I
years.
used to hang out at Eastern Projects.
Yeah.
I was at
He's screaming.
Eastern Projects.
He's screaming. But glad you came out. He flew in from Florida just for this.
Peace and love. My name is Samuel Miranda, a.k.a. Ringo MMR.
Well, I want to say welcome to the Style of Boogie, where the real history and stories will be told. So, I'm going to start this one off. Gentleman right here, known as Ringo from MMR, Mastermind Rockers. I've known him, I want to say 1972, 1973. I've known Ringo. This was one of the first cats, before I started dancing, that I saw in the street hustling, because he used to be a hustler. Hustling is a style of dance. You dance with a guy and a girl. And ironically, he knows I talk all the time. I used to make fun of him because I thought he was gay. Because he was always around chicks. Which was right? So we were like, there's Ringo that, always with the girls. But now we know why. But,
That's right.
always looked up to him. And I always knew he was older than me. I thought he was a bunch of years older than me because he hung out more than I did. But it turns out he's only a year older than me. And he was always in the streets. The guy was a street guy from a young age. And eventually, through the evolution of me learning how to dance and blah, 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 when I started as a rock dancer. But he's an amazing hustle dancer. And he was a loft dancer. So When I came back out, I had the pleasure of dancing with him again. We did a bunch of stuff for about 2-3 years, and then we branched off. But here we are again as, homies, dancers, everything that has to do with the community.
right.
And both from Williamsburg.
Williamsburg, stand up, baby. No doubt. I'm on
So
206.
this is the deal.
I used to hang out there.
Oh yeah,
right,
that's right. Well, you
That's
were around when he
right.
was
I was-
around.
I
You
was
were
there.
around. You were around.
That's right.
So Ringo, look, this is basically us talking to you not only as a friend and a mentor, right? And doing what you do, but we're trying to get down to the crux of everything that's being talked about, right?
Okay.
So, and we want to know, in your eyes, what is the origin of your style of rock? Where did it start? How did it start to you? And the evolution of it up until today.
Oh, that's simple. My style, my origin, my origins, my identity comes straight out of where I'm from, Williamsburg, okay? And my inspirations were black and white movies, all the stars that I used to dance on them. I used to watch movies with my mom's variety shows, and I picked up a lot of moves, Plus later on, the kung fu movies, also a lot of inspiration to me, before Bruce Lee and after Bruce Lee. And so when I first saw this thing called burning, I was 10 years old, okay? Down the block from me was a motorcycle gang called the Heaven Devils, okay? And they used to be out there in front of their clubhouse dancing and doing what they do, smoking. And one time I was out there playing in front of my house. The music was blasting.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I don't know what happened.
Dude,
to me there,
his story's killing you.
Yes.
So then I watched them do. There were a couple of guys dancing around each other and doing things to each other, simulating fighting and mambo dancing and drops and stuff. I was like, whoa, what is that? And gestures of certain kind of gestures that you see, And
What year was this?
73.
73.
I was 10 years old. So I used to always be outside. Like you said, I've been a street kid since day one.
Most of us were. So that's
No, I couldn't,
I wasn't a mama's
I couldn't
boy.
go out. At 10
I
years
wa-
old,
I was, but-
I couldn't go outside, and he was
I
outside.
said
At
most.
10 years old, I was shoplifting, so so I was watching these outlaws, doing their thing, and it gravitated to me because I was already dancing in my household. In my household, I got brothers and mothers and fathers, mother and father.
I was going to say,
They
you have more
dan-
than one mothers and fathers?
Mother. So in my household, you had the mambo. My father's Cuban, my mother's Puerto Rican. You had the mambo, salsa. You had funk for my brothers. You had rock and acid rock for my oldest brother, real rock, And so I was already dancing in my house.
That must have been a battle because you had a Cuban and a Puerto Rican.
Mixed.
They argue about salsa
Yeah.
all along. That's a whole other story, but.
Oh yeah, my father used to be, no, it's like this. My mom, no, it's like this. And the cooking, same thing, So
Too much garlic. Too much sazon.
I want black rice and black beans. What's that? I don't know. That's Cuban. So, that style of dancing gravitated to me at that young age. So I was already dancing in my home from all the music and all the things I was watching on TV, plus my brother's music, So, but that, So I mix those gestures of burning along with my freestyle that belonged to the black and whites and the Michael Jackson, And I just started doing, I don't know what I was doing. I was just dancing, but I was doing the burns,
Okay, the burns.
and the drops, because there was no
And
such
you
thing.
You were still doing this at home, right?
I was at home. I wasn't in the street yet, in the circles yet, because I was like watching them all the time.
Right.
But the older guys would do that, when they had little block parties and all that. I wasn't doing it yet until 2 years later, when I burst out, But that style of rocking, it was called burning, Te voy a quemar, yo, te quemaste. That means
He's
I
saying
burned you.
The interpretation of that, te voy a quemar means I'm going to burn you, I'm going to burn you. And that's the analogy that they used, or the words that they used in a street style war of dance.
So, that style of dancing I fell in love with it. And I started practicing in my house, and my mother was like, "What are you doing? Why are you holding your? What are you doing?"
What were you holding?
So I was taking a broomstick, put it against the wall, and I was doing those gestures that I saw the Outlaws doing. And then I was doing Michael Jackson, I was doing Nicholas Brothers, I was doing anything that I saw on TV. I was dancing like that, you know? And I used to watch the Lawrence Welk show with my mother. So anybody who knows the Lawrence Welk show knows I'm for real. So you know who was my favorite dancer? The tap dancer. So you know I'm for real. And then behind that was Bonanza.
That coincides with Liberace show.
Exactly, the Liberace show. So and yeah, so
You
I
guys
started.
watch too much TV.
Dude, that's all we had.
So it took me until later on when I was 12, I'm outside, then I was jumping in the circles with the big boys. And I was the 12-year-old, going after the big boys and doing my thing in front of the crowd. I'm like, yo, look at this little guy. Oh, he's so cute. I had an afro like Michael Jackson.
I got
He could tell
pictures.
you.
Afro.
And I was doing,
Looked like a helmet.
I was doing everything.
But it was hair.
Yeah, I had a huge afro and a
And he
skinny
didn't-
little body.
And he didn't cut it for about 20 years.
Put a
Exactly.
helmet on him now. Let's see how it looked.
Exactly. So you saw a little scrawny little kid in a circle with all these adults and doing his thing, you know, to what we know, Sex Machine, you know, the James Brown music, the funk, soul, disco, you know, and that's my rocking, and I developed a style.
When did you start hearing the word rocking? Just curious on that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
What the origin?
it
of
wasn't
to
called
you?
rocking. It was always called burning, or first it was burning. Then at 12 years old is when I heard the rock. The rock. Yo,
Yeah.
I want to
The
rock
Rock was
you.
a kid too. Oh, okay.
I want to rock you. I want to burn you. I never heard anything, no other term. Just,
Right.
I want to rock you. Yo, you want to rock? Or I want to burn you. You want to burn? Those are the call outs. Or after a battle, that's what you said. I burned you. I rocked you.
But Ringo, can I ask you a question? I remember going to the parties because remember, I was affiliated with the gangs as well, and I remember the first time I remember seeing those things were in the basements with the Outlaws doing it.
Right.
Is that the same thing with you?
Exactly. But they were
saw-
outside.
They were outside. Yeah.
They were outside.
'Cause I remember going, to, the
If you-
alleyways in the basements, drinking and seeing the guys, and that's the first time I saw. it.
Remember, the Heaven Devils lived right next to us. We lived here. You lived across the street from me. And next to our schools was the clubhouse of the Heaven Devils.
See, but I got it from the Unknowns and the Dirty.
Right. Well, the
Ones.
Unknowns, I got it.
So
I saw
the
them later
Heaven
on.
Devils is a gang, right?
Yes.
'Cause I never heard of them.
Outlaw,
yeah,
yeah.
Brooklyn.
You had the
Williamsburg.
Heaven Devils and the Horsemen. You know what I'm saying?
But the Horsemen started in the '60s.
Yeah.
From the South Side.
But these guys were older guys.
Yeah,
already.
I never heard of the Horsemen either.
No, these are
That's a new
Brooklyn.
one.
These are Brooklyn.
All of this, everything that we're speaking about, the Phantom Lords, the Horsemen, they were all gangs from the 50s and 60s that started in South Side of Brooklyn.
Hellburners.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Then
mean,
came up-
I'm familiar with certain gangs and
Yeah.
throughout the city, but not all of them. Especially the Brooklyn,
Yeah,
Brooklyn
yeah.
ones. I didn't.
There was a lot
didn't
in
know them
Brooklyn.
all.
A
I
lot
didn't
of
know
them
them all,
Brooklyn.
So,
And then
like
it's
the
like-
dirty ones were always, La Familia. I knew those guys, but
And like you said, the Unknowns, later on, when I played Little League at 12 years old and all that, I used to go to the parties and they were burning also.
Yep.
You know, you had, I won't mention names, but they were really burning.
And
you
we're
know?
talking about guys that didn't know shit about dancing. When I say these guys had 2 left feet, they could not dance.
Well, the only thing they did was a two-step. A two-step off those gestures.
right.
So that's what they were doing. They were doing the two-step. If we had space, I would show you exactly what they were doing. But we don't have space, so I would show you exactly what
Could
I
you do
saw.
it on your knees?
Well, no, I mean we can definitely you can demonstrate some dancing, later on, but
Yeah.
So that's how that was your influences right there.
Yeah, the
so
Outlaws.
moving forward, right? You got into the circle, you started doing, you got a name, right? Ringo. How'd you get that name?
Oh, that name, I was a big, you ready for this? I was a big comic collector. And because I loved Westerns through my father, so I used to watch Bonanza and all that stuff. Now, anybody here knows Westerns, they know the Ringo Kid, right? Okay.
'Cause I wasn't.
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. I didn't watch, but I didn't watch TV like you guys.
So, plus, he appeared on comic books. So I used to collect comic books. So I used to buy the Ringo Kid comic books and all the Western comic books. So that name came to me through the comic books. Not through the
So
movies.
you named yourself Ringo.
Through the comic book. Even though I saw it in the movies through television first, But it was because I was started collecting the comic books. It started gravitating me.
Dude, I didn't even know that.
When I used to box,
Amazing, yeah.
when I was 12,
That's how we got the name.
they used to call me Brown Sugar in Spanish when I used to box.
Oh, that's another thing. He was a boxer.
So
Good boxer too.
that's the name they call me, Kid Salami or Brown Sugar. You know, so
Kid Salami's not good.
Ringo, you gave to yourself. It wasn't a name that was given to you. It's not associated
no,
with your dance.
no, not through dance. It was because of the comic books.
All right.
That's crazy.
So you're in the circle, right? You're making moves. You know, how'd you end up in a crew? What was the first crew or whatever dance group that you got in at that time? Who was the first one?
Well, it depends what style of dancing now.
Or
Well, no,
whatever
it
you
doesn't
were
matter
doing.
what style. Go in order.
Okay, in my first hustle salsa dance crew was the Latin DC Dancers out of Williamsburg, Brooklyn. Okay, we were big, like maybe 200.
What year?
Oh, this is in the mid 70s. But I rock whenever there was a rocker in any party. It would be me and Eddie or Manny Martinez, who's known as Rubber Band from Mastermind Rockers. It would be us, or Beretta was my first crewmate and partner.
And
routines.
it's not the mastermind from the Bronx. This is from Cooper Park in Brooklyn.
So the rockers
Cooper
that were in the
Projects.
Latin dancers was us. Me, Beretta were first, and then came Eddie and Rubber Band. You know what I'm saying? And that was my first official crew. I was in my teens. It must have been, 77. 77.
So there's two mastermind crews. You telling me? Am I
He'll tell you the origin of
confused?
that.
There's-
He knows the
some
history of
crews.
that.
There's the Mastermind crew, which is the father of the Mastermind Rockers. You know, the Mastermind crew is the original crew out of the Bronx, 183, 183rd. And then Brooklyn is because one of the members or of the family members moved to borderline of Brooklyn, Queens, started hanging out with the Brooklyn guys and learning to dance and rocking and all that.
So you got another division, or you morphed in another division?
Well, they said, well, why don't we, since we always dance together, why don't we name this? And lo and behold, well, let me go ask my uncle, my cousin. And they have a lot of stories where, first of all, the main mastermind was on a board game. If anybody knows, it was on a board game. So there's stories that they used to play that game and they adopted that game. But lo and behold, anyway, the guy went back to the Bronx and said, look, I dance with these guys now. I live in Brooklyn, Queens, and we want to call ourselves something. Can we call ourselves Mastermind? And they did, but they were called Mastermind Rockers, not Mastermind Crew. It's a whole different thing.
Right.
You know, it's a whole different thing. Mastermind Rockers was solely rockers, nothing with crew.
That's the Cooper division, right?
The Cooper, the Greenpoint division.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
But yeah, Latin Dancers was first. Then came the Paradise Rockers, because I was a rocker, And then came Loft Unlimited. Then came Furious Rockers when I became a B-boy.
So Loft Unlimited predates Furious Rockers?
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Oh, okay.
He joined. He was with us. What year, Ralphie? I'm sorry, my friend Ralphie's off screen, off the shot. What year?
1980.
80? 1980.
1980. Okay. So that's about the time we met.
Yeah. We met, I think, you and I in 81.
81, and Loft Unlimited was already established.
Yeah, we were already
I
established.
remember that.
Yeah.
Okay, so
How that
I
happened?
was just curious how where
Yeah.
the Furious Rockers came from. And I really
Because
don't have
it's been
a good
inside
history
me.
of them.
It's been inside me for a long time that even before I even knew what hip hop was, it was the battling and the sensation of battling somebody and hitting the floor was inside me already. I danced with Sterenzo, and I was inspired by Perry. I went to the 2 clubs, but that didn't draw me. That was not who I was. I was a battle cat, was known as a battle cat. And I wanted to just battle people and fight people, and I was angry on my dance floor. So that's why rocking is my love, because I'm able to burn you and hit you without physically touching you. But I can take my aggravation on you and just
Just through the dance.
through the dance. I can make fun of you, I can destroy you, I can kill you just by dancing.
Well, a lot of the music and dancing predates hip hop. Hip hop
Yeah.
comes later on in
yes,
time.
yes,
So,
yes.
and a lot of people don't know that the whole dancing scene, the whole rap scene, the whole rhyme scene, the DJing, all that predates hip hop. Hip hop was a label that was given
Yep.
to what we were doing at that time.
Let me tell you something. People talk about that, but I'm gonna speak on, feed off of you. The culture's always been in the streets. We've always had graffiti writers. We've always had DJs in the streets. We've had gangs. Brooklyn was burning, not just the other borough. Brooklyn was already burning.
That's
Bushwick
true.
and the
That's true.
South Side were burning, were crumbling. Okay? You got these documentaries showing elsewhere.
Bronx.
The Bronx.
Shows
You,
the
you can
Bronx.
talk about my neighborhood.
Yeah, no, it
It's
does.
all good.
But ironically, you know, this is. I remember seeing the history and the books right before I read it. Just you know, remember, we didn't read much. We looked at pictures,
Right.
and I remember going, "Oh shit, that's my hood." And then when you read it, no, it's the Bronx, and the equation, you know, was identical. What was happening there
Was happening here.
happening here, and vice versa. This is why we never really know where it started from. And like I said earlier, what I want to talk about is how did we get all of this? Like, how is it that two separate boroughs that is completely separate by another borough, how is it that we're so identical in every fucking thing that we did? From dancing to burning buildings to dressing to, you know, everything. You know, at some point, because we had no social media. And let me just ask you another question. How do you feel about the way the dance community, even especially in the rock community, because that's what you're involved in, what's the difference between then and now? And is there anything that you would do to change it?
No, it's like, no.
Do you like the evolution of it?
I don't want to be that OG. Oh, there's a lot of OGs that were doing that. They were belittling people like, oh, why you jerking like that? Why you moving like that? It's like Kung Fu, it's like martial arts. That's your style, that's my style. That's your style, that's his style. That's your style. We don't dance the same. We come from two different hoods, boroughs, whatever. It's the rock. I don't care how you slice it. It's the rock. I don't care what kind of burn or whatever you do, whatever I do, we still rocking, we still burning. So I brought out a different style. I was the first one who brought out, was called double and triple burning, you know, off the burns, dancing burn. So I brought that out, you know, and I changed, that's the way I changed the game, because back in the days, it was a single burn and jerk. It was, you burned and you jerked and you dropped, you know, off the dance. I came out with double burning and triple burning off these moves. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, everybody started doing their own styles. The dance was evolving. Lo and behold, I was involved with a beautiful crew, a family of mastermind rockers. I was able to teach them. They went out and they became who they are. I became who I was through the dance. And the rock was...
And you're happy today with it?
Oh, hell yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, listen, let me say this final note. I've always said this. I've always said it, you know, we've had our ups and downs as friends, as brothers, and I've always said there isn't anybody that I've seen, even today, that dances like you and rock, bro.
Sure.
You know,
I've traveled the world. Russia I haven't been to yet, but I've traveled the world, and I was one of the trips with him. I've taught the world how to rock. It's growing. I did what I did, you know, but my last battle was going to be in Russia. Even though I battled them already, in other countries, I battled the Russians already, but I want to battle them in Mother Russia, you know? So that'll be my last time battling, you know, and that's it.
with that
God
note,
bless you, baby.
Thank you.
I want to say thank you to Ringo. Thank you, kid. And thanks for watching Style of Boogie, man. We've got a lot of history to talk about.
A lot.
Thank you.
A lot more to come.
So today we have the infamous Mr. Alien Ness, the B-boy extraordinary, or extraordinaire. How would you say it? Extraordinaire?
Original
Original.
B-boy from the Boogie Down Bronx, correct?
Thank you.
Bye.
Going from the Bronx. Everybody's from the Bronx. Anyway,
Then they should break dance and Bronx.
my man Ness, which I've had the pleasure of knowing now probably for about 7 years. The cat, if you don't know him in the B-boy world, then you're really not in it.
They've been in a comatose
They've been,
for the last 20
they've been
years.
comatose. But anyway, I'm gonna let him introduce himself, what he does, where he's been, how he started, whatever. The questions will go down the line, brother.
Ness, hopefully most y'all already know, but third generation B-boy, Boogie Down Bronx. Started my own crew back in the days, because that's all we did as shorties on the block. But then moved up, got down with a little performance crew called Dance System 10. Then I met Buck 4, took me under his wing. Started dancing with Hot Feet Rockers, where I got my battle style. Later on down the line, I got the blessing, the honor, the opportunity to dance with New York City Breakers, and then I quit breaking, came back, and was able to fulfill one of my biggest dreams, which was eventually be down with Rocksteady Crew, and then found out I could do better. So I'm the international president of the Mighty Zulu Kings worldwide. You said it, we did it.
Word is born.
So my first question, right, is what year did you actually start breakdancing? You said third generation. I thought you were like first or second.
And everybody thinks
But
you're first.
yeah, I was
First generation.
explaining this to Store. I refer to myself as a late bloomer because I'm about the same age. Like Legs, Kenny, them guys. They're second generation, but I didn't start breaking when they started breaking. And when I first seen breaking, I'm gonna be honest, only child, poor. If my mom saw me arrastrándome por el piso with my clothes on,
He said, arrastrándome por el
that's
piso.
exactly the
I
way
was
she would
breaking
say it.
down. He
That's
was throwing
exactly the
himself
way
and
she- yeah.
scrambling on the floor, getting all dirty.
Yeah, even if my parents didn't touch the floor, that's the way I already knew. Mom not having it, I'm not trying it. So it wasn't my thing, but I started figuring out if you could dance, you could meet girls. So I started with
Main topic.
Right, I
I
started with
think that was the main topic all the
So
time.
I started as a shorty, my babysitter Minji, just party dancing, you know, whatever dance was out in those days. And she tried to teach me the hustle, the freak, spank, you know, little things like that.
What was this one? The other one?
Right.
Uh-huh.
So in 1982, the breaking started getting bigger again. Because of the
That got
music.
exploding. It
Right.
started exploding. I think
Exactly.
Loft-style
Right.
was filmed in. Actually, it came out in '82.
82, but it was filmed in
I think it
80,
was.
81.
Yeah, but Flashdance
79.
put it on the map.
Yeah.
Flashdance
No,
put it on
wait,
the map.
I'm gonna get there.
Yeah.
I started in '82, but because I was a party dancer, to me, breaking was just another little piece to my arsenal. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't call myself a b-boy when I look at myself what I was doing in '82. Like the only b-boys I knew was like Seeing Loud with Broski and Rip 7. I watched what they did, I said I can do that. So if I went down, I looked like Rip 7. But I didn't care, it was just another party dance. You know what I mean? That I could do in the party, like I could break. You know, that was my mentality. And then that lasted for like almost about a year. And then Flashdance came out, right? And everybody went to the movie theaters. A lot of us went just to see Rocksteady Crew for that.
That
Nobody,
one little scene.
yeah.
That one little scene.
I didn't care about the movie. I wanted to see Rocksteady Crew.
Yeah.
Right? You know,
The,
back to the
the,
hood.
the girl wasn't too
hip-hop.
bad though.
Oh yeah, that was the extra.
Trying to
That was
say,
the
it
plus.
wasn't
That was the
too bad.
plus.
No, but it's true. You went
A lot of
because you
people
wanted to
went
see
to
that.
Rocksteady Crew.
Especially in New York.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I'm watching it come out and there goes Mr. Freeze. And it's already hot. And Norm Ski, it's already hot. I was always a Boogie Boy fan. Couldn't do it. So anything that I can't do,
Yeah.
I tend to like, you know, like really, really like it. You know what I mean? So yeah, they doing their thing, and then Crazy Legs, Kenny come out. You know, they doing their footwork, they backspin. Nothing I ain't never seen before. You know, I mean, I hung around with Rip 7, Real Ski.
Well, you never saw it in the movie theater.
I
Now
didn't see it in the movie,
Yeah,
but I'm talking about
you
as
saw
far
it on the
as
street.
I'm talking about as far as what they were doing.
right.
Right. And then Frosty came on. And he was totally different than all them cats.
Always was. He was.
Yeah.
He was
It was,
a unique individual.
like, yeah, it was like, yeah, it's Rocksteady, right? And then Frosty came on and it was like, and I watched it. And coincidentally, I love to tell this story. Coincidentally, I went to theater, croquettes, my bell-bottom knees. You know what I'm saying? I had a sweatshirt, but that was the only thing different. I used to have a little afro. So,
Frosty. You talking about Frosty Freeze?
Frosty Freeze, man.
Frosty Freeze. Yeah. Frosty Freeze.
When I first
I had
saw
the pleasure
him,
of working with him.
when I first saw him originally, because I would just happen to be dressed similar to him, it was like for a split second, I'm living through this kid, you know, it's another hood nigga, we dressed the same. And then I see him dance, and he was totally different than everybody.
Yeah.
Very unique. I could always say.
Yeah, and right there, that very second, the whole breaking thing, it snapped. And I said, I'm doing it wrong. It's not being able to do what Rip or Will does. Be able to do something totally different than Rip and Will and Squirt.
Roger. And so I don't mean to interrupt, but what I wanted to interject was that when I saw Frosty Freeze, right, breaking to me was always a high energy, you know, spinning, turning, movements of the arms in a fast motion. And then when Frosty came in, all that speed went into slow motion.
He did everything slow motion.
Right. And I was like, and I think that
broke the rules.
right. And I
He
think
broke the
everybody
rules.
just went, whoa.
He broke the rules.
He did
It was a
something.
movie. It's a movie. Nobody's looking at the camera. That's a no-no in a movie.
Yeah.
Act natural. Frosty broke the rules. He looked into the camera. He blew kisses. He made himself larger.
Yeah, he was crazy.
Yeah.
Frosty was crazy.
And right there, it just snapped. And I said, I'm doing it wrong. You know? And I remember leaving that theater and going home, and for the first time ever, practicing.
Now, when
Now,
you say do
let me see if I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. I got that. I mean, practicing. And then saying, okay, if they do it like this, what if I do it like that? You understand
So
what I
when you
mean?
say
I'm
do it
trying-
wrong, because you were,
I was just trying to do what Rip Seven did. See, like for instance, the spank, the patty dude. If you look at specific dance, they have a specific type of movement. You might change the swagger a little bit or something, but there's a specific type of movement and everything. So when I first saw breaking, I thought it was the same. The specific basic, and if I could throw a little wave or something here and there, I got
Change it
this.
up.
Yeah. So I thought I could break. You understand what I mean? But I wasn't trying to be a breaker. I wanted to be a dancer. I want to be able to do this, do that, do that. I want, because that's what girls liked on my block. But then it was the first time ever I just practiced like for hours, trying to think of something. You know, I couldn't figure some things out, and it was like, man, you know. And then immediately after that, they told me, yo, you gotta watch this thing called Star Wars. And I'm like, what? They're like, they can play it on Channel 13, PBS.
Yeah.
For those people around the world, PBS.
Back in the day, all we had was 13
Channel
channels.
13,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
And
right.
it wasn't even 13 channels, because we didn't have a channel 12.
Right. And then I watched
Imagine and you are a chef.
Yeah, so I
Video
watched
box
it,
was.
and I watched it, and I'm like, okay, I hear some beats, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking I'm watching a story about graffiti in the Bronx, and then all of a sudden, boom, the Rocksteady Creek. You know, and then I'm watching it again. You know, and then that's when I first saw Buck Funk Kuriaki. Now, Buck Funk Kuriaki wasn't being extravagant and flamboyant like Frosty. They were basically doing basics like Kenny and Legs. They broke it up different. You understand what I mean?
No,
Like,
yeah,
the
no,
first Buck Funk Kuriaki.
I think that was one of the first
Right.
tools
The
that
first,
was.
yeah, probably the secret weapon. They were the secret
Yeah.
weapon, the Rocksteady Crew.
Yes.
So, the first thing I noticed about them is they did a routine, and when they did the routine, they went to go down, bang, but then they got up, and it went down the other way. And from that moment on, it was a wrap. I'm like,
And you remember that was your change.
yeah,
In your head.
yeah, because I kept trying to go in circles. B-boys been breaking in circles since the 70s. You know, I want to be Frosty Freeze. I want to be totally different. I want to change the game. I want to make some kid feel like I felt when I seen Frosty, when that kid see me dance. But that little switch from one side, then to the other side. And then I'm like, I don't have to stick to the circular rotation. And that's when, so to answer your question, I started breaking in 82, but I got it in 83. You feel me?
Yeah.
I was a kid. I was
See,
like,
it's amazing you
yeah,
remember the specific year
yeah.
when you got
Yeah, sometimes I can't get the years right either, you know.
it. You know?
So if I make a mistake on the
You don't
years,
remember
forgive
the
me, that's
year.
fine.
You remember the music, you remember the people you was with,
Never
the
the year.
girl you was with, what grade you was in. You understand what I mean? But then it's like, okay, that was 82. You know what I'm saying? Well, actually, I didn't know it was 82 until, like, people started actually asking me. Because nobody ever asked me how long you been breaking. Like, the new era of breaking, this was still new to me. I had to literally go back and do the math. Okay, I know I was doing it and I started playing around and for like a year, and then I know Flashdance set it off for me, so it's gotta be a year before Flashdance. Okay, when did Flashdance come? Like I had to research
That's how
myself.
that's how I
Right, I
do it.
had to research
That's how I do it.
myself, because
Yeah.
in those days you really didn't think about the year you started, how long you've been breaking.
Well, we
You
never thought we'd talk about this 40 years later.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Exactly.
Nobody
You
was
just did.
thinking like that.
Yeah,
you know?
right,
I think
exactly.
our thoughts were short term. It might have been a couple of individuals that had long term,
Right.
goals. Yes, sorry. So yeah, they had long term goals. But many of us, from what I recall, we were just thinking at the moment,
Yeah.
at the time, and really, if we made a few bucks off of it,
Yeah.
cool. If we got a date out of it, even cooler,
Better.
right?
Even
And,
better.
and if people were like shaking your hand and saying, "Ain't you kitty?" or "Ain't you
That- yes.
that made
Ghetto
big-
celebrity
yeah,
status.
basically.
That's
And I don't-
neighborhood celebrity
I don't
status.
think
Yeah.
we went further than that.
Yo, broke as fuck.
Absolutely.
Yo, that's Kid Ness. Cause that's what they called me back in the days. Yo, that's Kid Ness. Yo, that used to make me rock hard. You know what I'm
Absolutely,
saying?
yeah.
Like, you know, and that was it. That was it. Started rocking putting shirts on my name. I wasn't in no crew, but I would put my shirt on my name.
So you were still dancing solo
Well,
at
you
this
know,
time?
my
Solo by yourself?
Well, there wasn't too many kids in my hood that got into it like I did, which was my blessing. That was my blessing. I believe that if all the guys on my block that I hung out with used to break, I probably would have never left the block. Feel me?
And you wouldn't have gotten
Right.
that extra knowledge from the outside
Exactly.
world.
So I had to.
You stay stuck on
I had to move out.
Yeah.
You know, and then I met these kids and we used to practice together, right? And we started calling the guys that used to practice together, we came up with a name, the Electric Avenue Rockers.
Why, is it Electric Avenue?
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yeah. No.
That's the name of it?
The song by Eddie Grant.
Oh, no, I
We
Electric
gonna rock
Avenue.
down to- I always like that. Electric Avenue.
Oh, so you did have the name Electric in your dance?
Yeah.
When you started?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was three words that was consistent in a lot of crews. Electric, probably the least. Electric, rock, and boogie.
Rock.
You know?
Rock is definitely probably number
Right.
one.
And I'm big on that. I'm big on boogie because to me, the word boogie means a lot.
Yeah,
And when we did Electric Boogie,
it means a lot more than people think.
right,
Where we from?
from the
Boogie
Boogie
Down.
Down Bronx, baby. Boogie
There
Down
it
Bronx.
is.
Yeah.
There it is.
We made it, Brooklyn took it.
Well, you know, that's another show. I mean, you know, him and I spoke about that earlier. We spoke about that group.
Hey, he was stealing it.
And rocking,
Making
and
it.
rocking, and breaking, and because of these words.
Yes.
This is why I always refer to what I say as the unpopular opinion. But if you're really from that generation, there's certain things that you have to put into consideration, and that's our slang, right? So people, like when they talk about the name of the dance and stuff like that, I really don't believe that those were the names of the dances. It was more descriptive. For example, if I got home last night late, right, and my mom went off on me, the next day I come out, I'd be like, yo, T, I got home late last night, mom was breaking on me. See, anything that was to the extreme was breaking. DJ Breakout. was to the extreme. You know? If you had to breathe fast, what they say, break out.
Time to break out.
Anything that was, so to me it wasn't the name of the dance, it was more descriptive. Same as rocking. They say, yeah, the name of the dance is rock. And I'm like, no, that was descriptive in that time. If you go back in the timeline, I mean, I don't say I know more than everybody, but just putting everything into consideration. Not staying in the box of the dance, looking at the whole scene, and putting everything into consideration, how we spoke, how we act, how we communicated. Even the word rocking was doing something to extreme. You know what I'm saying? I used to get on Gallagher. And it was getting close to turning over. My niggas used to call other niggas, yo, Rob's rocking this shit. Yeah, because I was taking it to the max.
Yeah, that's true. Those words affiliated with dance, it's like an explosion.
Yes. Hip-hop culture is rock culture, rocking culture. You're rocking it, you're breaking.
We came up with many names, and that's why I sometimes, get into debates and they be like, well, who came up with this word? And I'm like, well, who came up with fresh? You tell me who came up with fresh.
Nobody knows.
Because nobody really.
We were talking about that earlier.
I miss saying fresh.
Yeah.
We didn't really put a lot of thought to it. And it's how you said it and where you said it. In what context you said it. And that's what the meaning. But we were coming up with words like every other day.
Yeah.
Every other day.
And you're never going to find out who said it first. I mean, even when you talk about the word rock, believe it or not, rock to me, in the mid-70s, guys were already rocking, right? But rock to me was rock and roll, was a Caucasian thing. The white boys rock with the rock music.
Yes.
It had nothing to do with what we spoke about. That's why when the rock dance, underground rock, we knew what it was. But if you mentioned the word rock to the majority of people, they thought you were talking about rock music.
Yeah.
They didn't know you were talking about dance.
Now you said rocking.
If you say rocking,
Rocking
yeah,
what?
Yeah, what are you rocking? And then, like you said, check it out. This is right.
Extreme.
No, you say, look at that guy's rocking some Levi's. Or you're rocking Lees. You're rocking the DVDs.
Yeah.
So it depends how you use the word in a sense, in context.
Yeah, if you want, well, you was rocking it.
Yeah. So let me ask you a question. Before you started actually breaking, did you ever rock? Was there another style of dance that you did, or just freestyle dancing, like at birthday parties?
Freestyle dancing,
Yeah,
birthday
just freestyle.
parties,
Yeah.
And just to get a lot of attention. So when they played that last song,
Oh, the last song was the slow song. That's the one that you wanted.
Right.
So you can up and grind.
But to get that
Up and
last
grind.
song,
Well, it's funny that you say
a lot
that.
of work on it.
Willie always talk about that last song. You went to the party just for that
It was
last
either
song.
a hustle. It was either a hustle song or a slow jam.
Yeah.
And that's something that you don't see nowadays.
But in the 70s, it was a slow
The
jam.
slow jam
And that's how you knew the party was over.
Was
That was
it?
the last song. That was it.
But sometimes they'll have a slow jam session through the middle of the party, and that's when you go. The MC will come up and say, "All right, pick a girl." And you be like,
So check out the irony of what I talk about with the Brooklyn and the Bronx, right? When people say, "Oh, we did it." Here we are from Brooklyn. You guys are from the Bronx. You're not even era, but you're one section lower than I am. But because when I was 18 or 17, you were 14, right?
Yeah.
So, but check
I
this
didn't
out.
start till I was 15.
And check this out. But here we go. How do we know? How could someone say or state where it starts at? We're just talking simple about a party, a house party that you went to. How does Brooklyn know? How does the Bronx know that last song was the song to end the party and the song for you to hope that you scored?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's the similarities. That's why every time people want to fight about the Bronx and Brooklyn, like I told you, I got my boys Ringo. They're always like, these guys represent Brooklyn to the T. And I've always said I'm from Brooklyn, but I don't represent Brooklyn in my dance.
Right.
Because I didn't get better just by being in Brooklyn. I got better by going to Manhattan, by going to Queens, especially Manhattan. But I got better in my dance by exploring all these other sections.
That's why I said it was dope that I didn't have
Right.
nobody
That's what
to
I'm saying.
live with. I had to get out.
Mhm.
And to me, that's what separates the, how can I say it? that's what separates the real from the selling you a dream.